Good morning and welcome back to AZ Off Grid. It is Wednesday, October 19th. It's about 10:30 in the morning and it's currently about 62 degrees. I don't know if you can tell, but it is quite windy right now. Very windy. So temperatures are nice. The wind is a little sucky, but it is what it is. It's usually windy up here. Today, I need to check the water level on my batteries. It's been a while since I've done that. So I want to get that done. As long as the wind calms down a little bit, I'll be able to do that. I don't want to check it if it's really windy because I don't want to chance any debris getting blown into the ports and the batteries. Yesterday, I got my truck completely unloaded, finally. I got some things set up for some projects I might be working on here. So after I check the battery level, make sure all the water's up where it needs to be inside my battery bank here, I'm going to be working on putting in a new hot water heater, because if you watch my past videos, you know I destroyed this one by accident. So I'm going to try running some PEX from that water pump over there to the heater and also over to my sink. And here is the new water heater right here, still in the box. And I'm not sure if I have all the right fittings for this. We'll find out. I bought extras here, which were pretty damn expensive because they're brass, but hopefully I've got what I need to do this. I've never done PEX before. I know it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's something I've never done before, so I'm gonna give it a shot. And then at some point today, I've got to go over to one of my more distant neighbors. He's down at the bottom of that mountain there. I gotta go over there and help him out. And we're going to be putting a ridge beam in place on his home that he's building over there. It's a pretty large beam, but there's going to be 4 of us, so it shouldn't be a problem. But nonetheless, he's going to need my help, so I'm going to go over there. We're going to get that put in place, and then we're going to hang out, and I think we're going to do some barbecue around the campfire. So I've got some pretty lofty goals today. Probably not going to get it all done, but we'll see. But first things first, I want to take Sadie on our 2-mile walk, the same walk we did in yesterday's video, if you saw that video. So that's what we're going to do right now. When we come back, I'm going to get on the battery bank, make sure the water's all good to go, and then if I have time before he needs me over there, I'm going to start working on the water heater. One thing I want to mention before I let you go is, so I have 2 electric blankets. I bought them a few years ago. Never used them because I wasn't sure how well my battery capacity was going to do with those electric blankets. But I pulled one of them out a couple of days ago because it was getting a little chilly up there. And I had it on the very lowest setting, and my battery bank didn't seem to have an issue with it overnight. I didn't run it for very long, maybe probably 5 hours. But last night, I went ahead and hooked up a kilowatt meter to it, and I was very surprised at how little electricity that blanket uses to keep you warm. So, needless to say, I cranked the setting up on that last night to, I think, 3 or 4. It goes all the way up to 10. And I was toasty warm all night long, so comfortable. And my battery bank didn't seem to have a problem with it. So no alarms came on, no low voltage warnings never happened. So that's awesome. I can run electric blankets out here and be nice and toasty. So anyways, I'm gonna let you go. We're gonna go out on our walk and I'll see you in just a flash. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, you should know that I have 1,200 watts of solar. These are 100 watt each solar panels. They're a mix of Renogy and Rich solar panels. I've been running the Rich solar panels for, I don't know, a year or 2. So far, pretty impressed with them. I think in the future, if I were to only do 100-watt solar panels, I would probably just go with the Rich Solar, because they seem to be a better build quality than the Renogy's. The Renogy's are starting to show some age. Actually, they have been showing some age for quite some time. So far the Rich Solars, they look pretty good. Look like they're holding up well to this crazy sun that we have up here. So anyways, 1200 watts of solar, goes underground, comes into this ugly little room right here that looks like an outhouse. Inside, I'm running an Ames 12 volt inverter charger. It's 4,000 watt. I would, in the future, bump that up to 48 volts. But this is my first system, and I was starting small. And then it's going into a Midnight Classic 150, which means its maximum input voltage is 150 volts. It goes up to 70 or 80 amps, I don't remember. I do have all of this expensive control board stuff that one of my subscribers graciously gifted me, along with a wind turbine that he gifted me. All that stuff in there on the wall works great, but that does not. I still don't get any power out of it. I have not taken it down yet to pull it apart and find out if there's something that's visibly wrong with it, but as soon as I flip the switch in there, it'll start producing power, and then all these alarms start going off, and then it shuts down. It's telling me that there is a arc fault somewhere in this system. So still not using that. It looks amazing. It looks like it's working, but it's not. Anyway, so 1200 watts of solar running into here, going through the charge controller, which feeds through these PVC pipes back here into this box that I built 2-3 years ago, I think, 3 years ago. This is my battery bank. So this battery bank is fully insulated. I do have it vented because these are lead acid batteries inside here. So there's a vent on two vents on the front here, and then yeah, I've got one on each side at the top towards the back. This roof is actually hinged. It is how I get into the box. And I don't know if you can see it, but I have the ability to lock it, which I do. So you lift it up. It's got a little weight to it. And then I use this little 2x3 and just set the box lid right there. And this thing is not going anywhere. Okay, let me show you what I have. So I've got 16 of these 6-volt golf cart batteries. Most of them are, well, I guess they're an even mix of Duracell and Energizer. I picked all of these up at Sam's Club. You can get them all over the place in the country, but they're relatively inexpensive for the power capacity. And I didn't buy them all at once because that's a lot of money. I picked a couple up here and there over time, and I just kind of put them together as I got more. I know you'll hear people say don't do that. Don't put new batteries with older batteries. When you're on a budget, you do what you got to do, and that's what I did, and it's been working out pretty good. So yeah, I got to check the water on all of these batteries. There are 3 cells per battery, so do the math, 16 times 3. It's going to take me a while to check and fill all of these ports, but the way I do that, you can't see it really. I use a funnel like this with a fine tip on it, and I just carefully hold it over with a flashlight in this hand so I can see down into the port, and I slowly pour distilled water into here. I usually put the distilled water in this cup first, so it's not so much water that I'm holding on to, like a whole gallon, and then slowly trickle into here, into the port. Very important not to put too much in at one time. Basically, you don't want the water going through the funnel and splashing into what's already in there, which ends up kicking some of the electrolyte out, okay? What you see on the surface of the batteries, it looks like it's wet. That's just normal. It is acid. It comes up over time out of these batteries. It's just what it is. But these batteries are getting kind of old. I mean, you can see this is March of 16. We've got a couple 2019s, 2017s. So they're getting kind of up there in age, but they're still working. So I have no need to just go ahead and replace them right now. I will say that this is not looking too hot. You probably can't see it, but it's not looking very good on the surface as compared to something like this, which looks great. So yeah, they are definitely starting to show some age, but if you notice, I don't have any acid or corrosion buildup on any of my terminals. And the reason why is because I sprayed them with an oily substance that prevents that from happening. So no buildup, and that stuff works really well. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting my things together, get some water over here, because I know I'm gonna have to add some water. It's been, I don't know how long it's been, July, June, since I checked the water, but I have like 10 gallons of distilled water here. I've got way more than I need right now, so it's not gonna take that much water. But I'm gonna go ahead and fill these up and get this done with, because I really don't like doing this. It's a tedious thing, and I just hate messing with it. I don't like messing with battery acid, none of that BS. But it's something I gotta do every once in a while, and I should do it more often than I do. Real quick, just to show you again, you can see the two vents. There's one over there and one over there. And this is fully insulated. I used just R13, the pink stuff, and then I capped it off with some bubble foil. So these batteries will not freeze out here, even in the coldest of temperatures that we have here. And they're still vented, so there's no possibility of an explosion. I put two vents down low and two up high to create a bit of a convection to help draw those gases out of here. Seems to be working. Nothing's exploded yet. Okay, so I got my cup filled up with water. I went ahead and rinsed this out really nicely, scrubbed it a bit, so got all the debris out of it. And I've got my flashlight ready. If you guys are interested, this is an amazing flashlight. I've had it for several years now, and it is Anchor brand. This thing is awesome. It charges with a micro USB port. Okay, so water, funnel, flashlight. First things first, I'm gonna do a test just to see if some of these are pretty low. Oh yeah, before I start, I did go ahead and shut off the battery power. I've got two kill switches inside. Turned off the power from the panels to the charge controller and the power from the inverter from the batteries. So there's technically only one thing that's running right now inside there, and it's just the residual power to keep the charge controller running. It's also connected to the batteries, obviously. And I don't have a kill switch hooked up to that, so it's just running, but it's very little draw. Okay, so I used the flashlight because these ports are pretty dark. It's hard to see down inside there without some glare. Yeah, we're getting pretty low. We're not below the top of the plates, which is good. You can see the plates in there. But it is pretty low, so we're gonna have to add some water. Okay, so I usually take the flashlight, turn it on, and just hold it like this with one hand so I can see down inside the port. And you wanna do this very slowly so you're not splashing any of the electrolyte out. All right, that one's done. I'm gonna show you real quick. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but inside, sorry guys, I don't know if you can see inside this port right here, but there's a groove that goes down on a like a plastic sleeve inside there. If the water is below the bottom of that groove, you basically want the water to rise up to the bottom of that sleeve. So just barely touching that sleeve, that's where you want the water to be. So just add slowly until it rises to that level, just like I did right here. So it's just barely touching the bottom of that sleeve. That's good to go in this port. Okay, so that battery right here, just this one, took a mostly full cup from a, red Solo cup. So it's about 16 ounces of water. Just one battery. They're not all gonna be the same level. Some are gonna be a little bit higher, some are gonna be somewhat lower. It's just the way these batteries are. But just this one took a full cup of water. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and fill the rest of these up. I'm not gonna bore you by watching me fill these up. It's gonna take a little while, but we'll get back with you when we're done. Okay, so 1 gallon almost exactly filled these 8 batteries. There's just a little bit of water left in the bottom of this cup. So that was 1 entire gallon, did these 8 batteries. Now I want to touch on some safety real quick. Don't do what I'm doing, okay? I should be wearing safety glasses. I don't like wearing safety glasses. I pay for it sometimes. The other thing is, while I'm using my flashlight and my funnel to fill, this is metal. If I were to drop this, which could happen, and I were to touch a negative and a positive somehow, I'd have a real big problem on my hands. Yeah, you should probably use a plastic flashlight, because if I were to touch 2 of these terminals together with this flashlight, I'm gonna have a serious issue on my hands. So don't do what I'm doing, be safe. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention before we started this, you're gonna wanna make sure you wear some pretty crappy clothes, because you are going to end up getting some of the acid on your hands, your fingers, and inadvertently touch your clothing or whatnot, and you can ruin your clothes. Also, when you're finished, go ahead and wash your hands with soap and water. Make sure you get it off your fingers so you don't end up rubbing your eyes and burning your eyeballs. Okay, so we're all finished now. I used just a hair over 1 gallon for this side of the bank, these 8 batteries, just a touch. I do believe that I have a bad cell. This cell right here on this battery. This battery is from 2015. It is my oldest battery in the bank. I think these 2 were my first batteries right here. Anyways, I think this cell is bad. This cell did not need any water. It was completely topped, and these 2 were quite a bit low. And if you look inside this cell, there's something floating in there and also resting on the plates that looks kind of weird, and none of the other batteries had any of that in there. So this is probably going to be a bad cell. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half. I went ahead and threw my charge controller in equalizer mode to equalize the batteries in hopes that it would help recover that cell that I suspect is bad, but I don't believe it did. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. So here is the battery in question right here. I don't know if you guys can see with the glare. Probably not. But when you're charging a battery, you'll start to see bubbling in these ports, kind of like they're boiling. This one has not bubbled once. I've been watching it over time to see what it does, and it's not doing it. These 2 are, and all of the rest, you can actually hear it bubbling, but this one is not. So I suspect this is probably going to be a bad cell. I also went ahead and threw the voltmeter on it. So this battery here, which I believe is the same age as this battery here, this was the highest voltage battery in the whole pack. And this was the lowest out of the whole pack. All of the rest are pretty similar in voltage, except for that one back there. It was a little bit lower but pretty close. But the rest of these are all pretty much the same, except for these two. This one's a little higher for some reason, and this one's a bit lower, which would, you know, make sense if you got a bad cell. So, I do not want to, okay, so I'm gonna be replacing this battery bank in the future. I'd like it to last me another probably year or two if I could get out of it. So I'm not going to replace all of those, obviously, but to keep it going for another couple of years, I'm probably just going to replace that one or both of those two batteries, just to get me another couple of years. Because after this bank is done, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to lithium iron phosphate. So I would say lead acid is a great, and at this point I would call it an alternative to lithium. So if you've got 1,000 watts or less and you don't plan to power anything more than an RV or a little bitty cabin, I would say that you could go with the lead acid, because it is less expensive and it will get you power quicker for less money. And it works pretty good. It works pretty good. You just got to keep on top of the maintenance. However, if you want to go dollar for dollar, the lithium iron phosphate is far superior to lead acid. It does cost quite a bit more, absolutely does. But the thing about lead acid is you can only draw the capacity of each battery down to no more than 50%, and you actually shouldn't go below 60% to be safe. But so you're going to get about 40 to 50% of the actual capacity of a lead acid batteries to use. Whereas with lithium iron phosphate, you can draw them down. You can draw them down to zero, but to be safe, I wouldn't go any lower than 10% remaining. And I wouldn't charge above probably 90% full, just to make those batteries last way, way longer. But there you go, you get 80% of your capacity out of lithium iron phosphate, and that's even staying safe. And the thing about lithium iron phosphate is they have way, way more charge and discharge cycles, which means that instead of your batteries lasting, 5 to 8 years, they're gonna last you 15 or 20 years. So that is the benefit to lithium, and that's what I'll be going to next. I will also be upgrading my inverter and charge controller. I'm gonna go to an all-in-one system that is 48 volts. So this and this will be gone, and it'll just be one large unit here, 48 volts, which will be a lot more efficient as I add to my system over time. Now, when I bought this inverter, I don't know how many years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I had a lot of people tell me not to buy it, or that I shouldn't have bought it, and I should have gone up in voltage, which I probably should have. They said that the aims weren't that great. Well, this thing has been running non-stop since I installed it, however many years ago that was. You guys can look back in my videos. I think it was probably about 6 years ago. It has never failed. I can hook a generator up to it and charge up my batteries. It's been working flawlessly, and it has no problem running my dryer, the startup for my dryer, my washer, my air compressors, all that stuff. It has no issue at all. So it's been a really great inverter. I don't have anything bad to say about it at all. Also with the Midnight Classic, it's been a great charge controller. But yeah, I'm gonna be upgrading to a 48 volt system in the future, probably here in another year or two. And that is when I will buy the new, the batteries. And they're gonna end up being server rack batteries. So pretty large, kind of thing you see on Will Prowse channel. That's what I'll be upgrading to. And the batteries will no longer be in this box. I'm gonna put them inside. I'll probably actually move the all-in-one charge controller inverter over to the little cabin also, just to protect it from the weather, because lithium batteries, they They require to be within a certain temperature range, otherwise they will be damaged. So probably end up putting that all in here at some point. That way, it's like I said, it's protected. And the server rack batteries are great. You can add over time, and they just stack, and you get more and more power each time you add one. So I think those are far superior to what I have, but I'm not talking bad about what I have now. It's been great for me. It's allowed me to do so many things out here on a budget, and it's been working pretty good, with the exception of that one battery that I just discovered. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna end up buying another battery or two here in maybe in the next couple of days. I might take a trip and go get a couple. It's still working. It hasn't caused me any issues yet, but I want this system to last. And if you have a bad cell in a mix of 16 or 8 or whatever, it's gonna draw your voltage down across the whole bank, and I don't want that. So it could potentially damage your other batteries over time, and I don't wanna do that. So I'm not gonna have any time probably to get onto the water heater today because it's getting later in the day, and I think my friend is going to need me over at his place soon. I haven't been able to contact him right now because I've had my power shut down while I was equalizing. So maybe he's already tried to call me or text me, I don't know. But I'm gonna have to work on the water heater probably tomorrow. But for now, that's gonna do it on this video. You guys, it's getting kind of late in the day. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you wouldn't also mind, is going down to the description below this video. Click on the link down there. It'll take you over to all my other links, which go to my other YouTube channel, Better Built Life. And it'll also take you to my website, where there's all kinds of cool gizmos and gadgets and other things on there that I've added over time, as well as my my socials, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all those other ones. So you guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.